My landlord set me up to take the fall for millions in identity theft, so I blew his cover and slammed the prison door behind him. A month later, he sent someone else to finish what he started. I was sleeping in my car when I found the Craigslist ad. $400 per month furnished room, utilities included. In a city where closets cost $1,200, it seemed impossible. But when you've been washing your hair in gym sinks for 3 weeks, impossible looks good. The landlord, Marcus, met me at a coffee shop, mid-50s. Looked like somebody's dad. I don't need the money. I just want someone reliable who minds their own business. No credit check, no references. Cash was fine. I travel for work and need someone to receive packages. They'll have different names. They're business associates. Just stack them in the garage. The room was perfect. Queen bed, bathroom, mini fridge. I finally had an address to put on job applications. Packages started arriving on day 3. FedEx, UPS, unmarked vans, all under different names. Mike Hawk, Ahmad Hassan, Robert Torres, Never Me, or Marcus, all to my apartment number. 2 days later, I woke up to a knock on the door. It wasn't Marcus. It was a random middle-aged woman hyperventilating. Is Marcus here? Please. He's traveling. My son ordered 1 laptop for his daughter. She interrupted. How does he owe $5,000? She showed me a receipt, my apartment, a package I'd signed for. They said if he doesn't pay tomorrow, they'll report him for receiving stolen goods. He's on parole. I stood there confused. I just received packages for his business. I was interrupted again, but this time it was by the sound of her backing away. Oh, honey, you don't know what you're doing, do you? Just be careful. That night, I texted my friend Sarah explaining everything, asking her for a second opinion. She called immediately. Get out. Now. What? Why? I asked. My ex did time for this. It's a reshipping scam. Stolen goods go to innocent addresses. You're on camera receiving everything. When cops come, you're the one holding the bag. I had this nagging feeling like she was right, but I hung up anyway, because why change something that was perfect? But the next morning, while I grabbed cereal from the store, I saw them. Security cameras, expensive ones, covering the driveway, garage, my entrance, none pointing at the main house, all pointing at me. My stomach dropped. I'd been signing for everything on camera, and my name on the lease. I looked like the landlord. I googled the names on packages. Ahmad Hassan pulled up a news article. Local man arrested in major identity theft ring. My heart dropped. The packages were stolen goods, and I'd received every single one. Marcus texted, gone for 2 weeks. Big deliveries are coming. Keep stacking. I knew I had to get out, but I looked guilty as hell. A homeless girl suddenly has rent money and receives suspicious packages at all hours. Who'd believe me? Then I remembered. Marcus installed a smart doorbell before I moved in, gave me the login to check for packages. I scrolled back through the footage, and when I finally got to 2 weeks back, I saw another tenant. She was young, scared. I don't want to do this anymore. Marcus's response, then move out. But your name's on everything. The guy left the next day. I kept scrolling. 3 tenants in 4 months. All young, desperate looking, all gone within 6 to 8 weeks. That's when I found it. Marcus on the phone 5 months ago. Yeah, the last one went to the cops. Good thing we moved everything first. Kid looked crazy, no proof. Spent 2 nights in jail. I was shaking. This was a rotating scam. Find desperate people. Get their names on everything. Let them take the fall. I had maybe days before becoming the next crazy kid with no proof. That night, I downloaded every second of footage, photographed every package, every label, found a legal aid lawyer. When I told her, I figured she would have seen this 1,000 times before, but instead, her face went completely white. This is federal. We need to contact the FBI. Next morning, I walked into the FBI field office with a USB drive. The agent's expression changed as I explained. We've been tracking this operation for months, always one step behind. You know about Marcus? Marcus? But the man you're describing is David Park. He's done this in 6 cities. They arrested him 2 days later at the airport with 4 fake IDs, heading to Portland. The garage contained $2 million in stolen merchandise. He got 15 years federal time. His bail was set to $600,000, and after his buddy bought his freedom, he was out for blood. And that night, I learned why none of his previous tenants could be found. I couldn't sleep that night. Every car passing by made me jump. Every footstep in the hallway sent my heart racing. Sarah called again around midnight, begging me to come stay with her, but I couldn't leave. Not yet. I needed to document everything before I disappeared. The next morning, I started packing while keeping one eye on the doorbell camera feed. My hands shook as I folded clothes into garbage bags. 3 months of finally having stability, gone. Back to sleeping in my car, back to gym showers, back to nothing. A notification popped up on my phone. Motion detected at front door. My blood ran cold when I saw him on the screen. David Park stood there, hands in his pockets, looking directly at the camera. He knew I was watching. He smiled and waved before walking away. I called the FBI agent immediately. He's not supposed to contact you, she said. Document everything. We're sending someone over. But David was smarter than that. He never came back to the property. Instead, I started noticing things. My car had a flat tire when I went to leave for a job interview. The next day, another flat. The mechanic found nails deliberately placed under each tire. I missed the interview. When I called to reschedule, the manager sounded cold. We received some concerning information about your background, she said. We've decided to go with another candidate. My stomach sank. What information? I'm not at liberty to discuss it. Click. The same thing happened with the next 3 jobs I'd applied to. Anonymous tips about my criminal history. One manager was kind enough to forward me the email. It claimed I was under federal investigation for mail fraud and money laundering. It came from a generic Gmail account, untraceable. Sarah drove me to the bank to withdraw my savings, what little I had. The teller frowned at her screen. I'm sorry, but your account has been flagged for suspicious activity. It's frozen pending investigation. What suspicious activity? I practically shouted. Multiple fraud reports have been filed. You'll need to speak with our fraud department. The fraud department said it would take 30 days to investigate. 30 days without access to my money. I had $47 in my wallet and a car with 4 flat tires. Sarah didn't hesitate. You're moving in with me today. I spent the next week at her apartment, jumping at every sound. The FBI said they were investigating but couldn't prove David was behind the harassment. He's being very careful, the agent explained. Nothing directly traceable to him. Then packages started arriving at Sarah's building. Not to her apartment, but to the lobby, addressed to names like Michelle Rodriguez and Jennifer Chen. The building manager was confused. These people don't live here, he told Sarah. We both knew what was happening. David was trying to set us up, make it look like we were running the same scam. Sarah grabbed the packages and marched straight to the FBI office. He's trying to frame us, she said, dumping them on the agent's desk. The agent sighed. We know, but knowing and proving are different things. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the doorbell footage. David had been doing this for years, in multiple cities. He had to have help. Someone texted tech-savvy enough to create fake identities, reroute packages, send untraceable emails. I scrolled through the old footage again, looking for patterns. That's when I noticed him. A younger man, maybe early 30s, who appeared in several clips. He always came with David but stayed in the car. In one clip from 5 months ago, David called out to him, "Ryan, grab the scanner from the trunk." Ryan, I had a name. I spent hours searching social media, cross-referencing with the dates and times from the footage. Finally found him. Ryan Park, David's younger brother, worked at a tech company downtown as an IT specialist. Sarah thought I was crazy. You can't just confront him. I have to do something. The FBI isn't moving fast enough. I waited outside Ryan's office building the next day. When he emerged for lunch, I followed him to a food truck. My hands trembled as I approached. "Ryan Park?" He turned, confused. Then recognition dawned and his face went white. You're the girl from the apartment. We need to talk." He tried to walk away, but I followed. "Your brother is destroying my life. I lost my job. My money's frozen. I don't know what you're talking about," but his hands were shaking. "I have footage of you at the house. The FBI has it too." He stopped walking, turned to face me. Up close, I could see the fear in his eyes. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I can't. He's my brother. He's a criminal, and he's making you one too." Ryan's shoulders sagged. "I never wanted this. He said it would be easy money, just technical stuff. Set up some accounts, reroute some packages. I didn't know about the people, the tenants. Not at first. But you know now." He nodded miserably. "I tried to get out. He won't let me. Says we're in too deep. Help me stop him. You don't know him like I do. He's different since prison. Meaner. He blames everyone else for getting caught." Ryan looked around nervously. "I shouldn't be talking to you. He's going to frame me and my friend for his crimes. Please." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "There's a storage unit. He keeps records there. Everything from the past 5 years. Insurance, he calls it. In case any of the previous tenants try to come forward." "Where?" He gave me the address, unit number. "But you didn't hear it from me. And be careful. If he finds out." "Does he visit it often?" "Once a month. Usually on the 15th. Today was the 12th. That night, Sarah and I drove to the storage facility. My hands shook as I entered the code Ryan had given me. The lock clicked open. Inside, boxes upon boxes of documents. Fake IDs, shipping manifests, tenant agreements, 7 folders, each with a different name. Each a person like me who'd been desperate enough to take the deal. One folder was thicker than the others. Maria Santos. I opened it and my blood ran cold. Newspaper clippings about a car accident. Local woman dies in single car crash. The date was 2 weeks after her tenancy ended. Sarah grabbed my arm. "We need to call the FBI. Now." But I kept reading. Police reports suggesting brake failure. Insurance documents. And at the bottom, a handwritten note. "Problem resolved. D. He called her." I whispered. She was going to testify and he called her. We photographed everything. Every document, every file. Then I found something that made my heart stop. A folder labeled Martin Webb. Inside, a death certificate from 5 years ago. But the photo was David Park. He faked his own death, Sarah breathed. That's why the FBI couldn't track him. He's been using his brother's identity. We heard footsteps outside. My heart hammered as a shadow passed by the unit. We held our breath until the footsteps faded. "We need to go," Sarah whispered. We carefully replaced everything and slipped out. In the car, I called the FBI agent. "I have evidence. David Park is actually Martin Webb. He faked his death to escape federal charges, and I think he murdered Maria Santos." "Where did you get this information?" I hesitated. "Anonymous tip." The agent sighed. "We need legally obtained evidence. You can't just, then get a warrant. Storage unit 247 at Secure Store on Madison. Hurry. He visits on the 15th. I hung up and texted Ryan, "Thank you. Get somewhere safe." His response came quickly. He knows something's up, asking questions about who I've talked to. I'm scared. I showed Sarah the text. "We need to protect him. He's the only witness who can testify about the operation. The FBI will protect him if he cooperates," Sarah said. But I wasn't sure they'd move fast enough. David had already proven he'd called to protect himself, and now his own brother was a liability. The next morning, Ryan called me. His voice was panicked. "He wants me to meet him tonight. Says he has a new tenant lined up. I think he knows. Don't go. If I don't, he'll know for sure. Maybe I can record him. Get him to admit everything. It's too dangerous. I'm tired of being scared. Tired of being part of this. If I can get evidence, will you make sure the FBI gets it?" I agreed reluctantly. Ryan said he'd wear a wire, record everything. The meeting was set for 8 p.m. at a warehouse David used for storing packages. Sarah and I parked across the street from the warehouse that night. I'd called the FBI, told them about the meeting, but wasn't sure they'd come. We watched Ryan's car pull up. He sat there for a full minute before getting out. David was already inside. Through a window, we could see them talking. Ryan's body language was tense, but he was playing along. Then David pulled out a folder, showed Ryan something. Ryan shook his head, backed away. The conversation got heated. David grabbed Ryan's shirt. That's when we heard the sirens. David's head snapped toward the window. He shoved Ryan hard. Ryan fell backward, hit his head on a concrete barrier. David ran for the exit. I jumped out of the car, ran toward the warehouse. "Call 911, I shouted to Sarah. "Ryan's hurt." David burst through the door just as the FBI vehicle screeched into the parking lot. He saw me, his face twisting with rage. For a moment, I thought he'd come after me. Then he turned and ran. I rushed to Ryan. He was conscious but bleeding from a gash on his head. "Did you get it?" he asked weakly. Did I get what? He pulled a small recorder from his pocket. Everything. He admitted everything. The murders, the fake identity, all of it. The FBI agents swarmed the building. One took the recorder while paramedics tended to Ryan. David had vanished, but they found his car abandoned 2 blocks away. "We'll find him," the agent assured me. "With Ryan's recording and the storage unit evidence, he won't get far." But I wasn't feeling safe yet. David knew where Sarah lived. He knew my car, my habits. Until he was caught, we were both in danger. The FBI put us in a hotel for our protection. Ryan was hospitalized overnight but would recover. He'd agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. "I just want this to be over," he told me when I visited. "I want my life back." I understood the feeling. 3 days later, David made his final mistake. He tried to ship a massive order of stolen electronics to my former workplace, hoping to frame me one last time. But I'd warned security, and they were ready. The shipping account led directly back to a new fake identity he'd created. They arrested him at his elderly mother's house, where he'd been hiding in the basement. No bail this time. The judge considered him a flight risk and a danger to witnesses. During the trial, the full scope of his operation came out. 7 victims over 5 years, millions in stolen goods, and Maria Santos murdered for threatening to expose him. David, or Martin Webb as we learned to call him, got 25 years federal time. No possibility of parole. As they led him away, he stared at me with such hatred that I shivered, but he was powerless now. Ryan testified against his brother, detailing the technical technical aspects of the operation. He helped the FBI locate and contact all the previous victims. Some had been living in fear for years, afraid to come forward. The Victim Restitution Fund gave me enough to truly restart my life. Not a fortune, but enough for a security deposit on a real apartment, a reliable car, and a few months of stability while I found work. Sarah and I remained close. She'd stood by me through the worst of it, and I'd never forget that. Ryan and I stayed in touch too. He'd lost his brother, but gained his freedom from a life of crime he'd never wanted. 6 months later, I was working at a nonprofit that helped homeless youth find housing. My experience made me uniquely qualified to spot predatory situations. I'd turned my nightmare into purpose. Sometimes I still check over my shoulder, still feel my heart race when unexpected packages arrive, but I'm not running anymore. I'm not sleeping in my car or washing my hair in gym sinks. I survived David Park, Martin Webb, whatever his name was. He'd tried to destroy me like he'd destroyed others, but I'd fought back and won. The other day, a young woman came into our office, desperate, living in her car, looking for any opportunity. As I helped her fill out applications for legitimate housing assistance, I thought about how easily I'd fallen for David's trap. Be careful out there, I told her. If something seems too good to be true, she nodded, but I could see the desperation in her eyes, the same desperation that had made me ignore every red flag. All I could do was make sure she had better options than I'd had. Real help, not predators waiting to exploit her vulnerability. Because that's what David had been, a predator who hunted the desperate. And for a while, he'd made me his prey, but I'd survived. And now, finally, I was free. The freedom didn't last long. 2 weeks after the trial ended, I noticed my social media accounts acting strangely. Posts I hadn't made appeared on my timeline. Old photos from my homeless days with captions like missing this lifestyle. And sometimes I think about going back. Friends started messaging me, concerned. I deleted everything, changed my passwords, but the damage was done. My supervisor at the nonprofit pulled me aside the next morning. She held printed screenshots of the posts. "We need to talk about your online presence," she said carefully. "Some donors have expressed concerns." I explained about the hacking, but her expression remained troubled. "I believe you, but our board is worried about the organization's reputation. Maybe take some time off while this gets sorted out." Unpaid time off. I couldn't afford that, not when I'd just gotten back on my feet. Walking to my car, I found a manila envelope tucked under the windshield wiper. No return address. Inside, photos of me from my homeless days. Sleeping in my car, washing up at the gym, looking desperate and dirty. A note in block letters. These could be everywhere. My hands shook as I called the FBI agent. She sounded tired. "Without proof it's connected to David's operation, there's not much we can do. He's in federal prison." "Someone's still out there," I insisted. "Someone who has access to his files, his methods. We'll look into it," she promised, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. That afternoon, I went to see Ryan at his new job. He'd found work at a smaller tech firm after testifying. His face paled when I showed him the photos. "These were in the storage unit," he said quietly. "David documented everything about his targets. Said it was for leverage. Who else had access?" Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "There was someone else. David mentioned a partner once. Someone who helped him set up new identities after he faked his death. Never told me who. Think, Ryan. Any detail could help." He rubbed his temples. "David got a call once. I heard him say something about meeting at the old Riverside warehouse. That's all I know." The Riverside warehouse district was mostly abandoned, the kind of place where illegal activities thrived. I knew I should tell the FBI, but they'd already proven slow to act, and whoever was targeting me was escalating quickly. Sarah refused to let me investigate alone. "We're in this together," she said firmly. We drove through the district that evening, looking for any signs of activity. Most buildings were boarded up, covered in graffiti. Then we spotted it. A newer sedan parked behind a seemingly abandoned structure, fresh tire tracks in the dust. We parked a block away and approached carefully. Through a broken window, we could see light coming from an office area. Voices carried in the quiet evening air. I recorded everything on my phone as we crept closer. A woman's voice, sharp and businesslike. "The girl's proving more resilient than expected. We need to escalate." My blood chilled. They were talking about me. A man responded, "David always said she was the smart one. Should have been handled differently. David's locked up because he got sloppy. I won't make the same mistake." We push her back to the streets, make her desperate again. Desperate people make mistakes. Sarah grabbed my arm, pointing to a stack of boxes visible through another window. Shipping labels, just like the ones from David's operation. They were running the same scam with new victims. We backed away slowly, but Sarah's foot hit a piece of metal. The clang echoed through the empty lot. The voices inside stopped. Footsteps headed toward the door. We ran. Behind us, I heard the door slam open, someone shouting. We reached Sarah's car just as headlights flared to life behind us. Sarah gunned the engine, tires squealing as we fled. The sedan followed, gaining ground. Sarah took a hard right, then another, trying to lose them in the maze of streets. My phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "You should have stayed quiet," the woman's voice said. "Now you're going to learn what happens to people who don't mind their own business." The line went dead. We'd lost the sedan but knew they'd find us again. Sarah drove straight to the police station, but the officers seemed skeptical. "You're saying someone connected to a convicted criminal is stalking you? Based on what evidence?" The recording was too muffled to make out clearly. Without concrete proof, we were on our own. The next morning, my landlord called. "I'm sorry, but I received notice that you've been using the apartment for illegal activities, package deliveries at all hours, suspicious visitors. I have to give you 30 days notice." "That's not true. I can explain. I've already made my decision. I can't risk my property." I sat on my bed, surrounded by half-packed boxes once again. The cycle was repeating, but this time, I knew what was happening. Someone was systematically destroying my life, using David's playbook. Ryan texted me. "They came to my work asking questions about you. HR wants to talk to me. I think I'm going to lose my job." The guilt hit me hard. Ryan had already sacrificed so much to help me. Now he was being punished again. I met him at a coffee shop that afternoon. He looked exhausted, defeated. "They're saying I'm a security risk because of my connection to David's case. They're putting me on administrative leave. I'm so sorry. This is my fault." "No," he said firmly. "This is David's fault, and whoever's continuing his work." He slid a piece of paper across the table. "I did some digging last night. Found something in David's old files I'd backed up. A name, Victoria Chen. She helped him create the Martin Webb identity. Victoria Chen. Finally, a real lead. She's a document forger. Works out of Chinatown. High-end stuff. New identities, papers, the whole package. If she's the one after you, then she's protecting her business." I finished. "If David's operation gets fully exposed, her clients might get nervous." Ryan nodded. "Be careful. People in her line of work don't just send threatening photos." That night, Sarah helped me research Victoria Chen. Not much online. Professionals in her field stayed hidden. hidden, but we found a few references in court documents from identity theft cases. Always mentioned, never charged. She was smart. My phone buzzed with an email. My heart sank as I read it. The nonprofit had decided to let me go. Organizational restructuring, they called it. But I knew the truth. Victoria had gotten to them too. Sarah squeezed my hand. We'll figure this out. But I could see the worry in her eyes. Her landlord had already called about concerns regarding her recent activities. Victoria was targeting everyone close to me. The next morning, I woke to find my car wouldn't start. The mechanic found sugar in the gas tank. Gonna need a full flush and possibly a new fuel system, he said, looking at $3,000 minimum. Money I didn't have. Money I couldn't access even if I did. My bank was still investigating the fraud claims against my account. I was at the mechanic shop when Ryan called. Voice panicked. They fired me. Security escorted me out. Said they found evidence I'd been stealing company data. What evidence? Fabricated. Files that appeared on my work computer overnight. I never even saw them before IT found them. Victoria was eliminating witnesses, discrediting anyone who might support my story. I thought about Maria Santos, dead in a convenient car accident. Was that Victoria's work too? Sarah picked me up from the mechanic. I've been thinking, she said. We need to go on the offensive. Find Victoria before she destroys us completely. The FBI won't help without evidence. We need to get it ourselves. It was dangerous, but what choice did we have? We drove to Chinatown that evening, following the few leads we'd found. 3 different people claimed they'd never heard of Victoria Chen. The 4th, an elderly shop owner, went very quiet when we mentioned the name. You girls should go home, he said softly. Some questions are dangerous to ask, but his eyes flicked toward a building across the street. 2nd floor, windows covered with reflective film. We thanked him and left, circling back after dark. The building had a rear entrance, lock already broken. We climbed the stairs, hearts pounding. The hallway was empty, most offices dark, but light seeped under one door. No name on the frosted glass. I pressed my ear against the door. Voices inside, too muffled to understand. Sarah pointed to another door down the hall, slightly ajar, dark inside. We slipped in, finding ourselves in what looked like a storage room connected to the lit office by an internal door. Through the crack, we could see her. Victoria Chen was younger than I'd expected, maybe mid-30s, immaculately dressed. She was on the phone, pacing. No, the timelines moved up. The girl found the warehouse. Yes, I know what David promised you, but David's in prison. Fine, tomorrow night, but this is the last time. She hung up, immediately dialing another number. It's me. We need to accelerate everything. Empty the warehouse tonight and find the girl. She's becoming more than a nuisance. My phone, on silent, lit up with an incoming call. The screen's glow seemed impossibly bright in the dark room. Victoria's head snapped toward the internal door. Hold on, she told whoever was on the line. I think someone's here. Footsteps approached. Sarah and I pressed against the wall, holding our breath. The door opened, light spilling in. Victoria stood silhouetted in the doorway, phone still in hand. I know you're there, she said calmly. You might as well come out. We had 2 choices, run or face her. I stepped into the light. Victoria Chen, her expression didn't change. You're persistent. David warned me about that. David's in prison. For now. She studied me with cold calculation. You cost me a very profitable partnership. Do you have any idea how much money you've lost me? You're destroying innocent people's lives. She laughed, a sound without humor. Innocent? You were all desperate enough to take an obviously illegal deal. You made your choices. Maria Santos didn't choose to die. Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. That was David's decision. Too messy for my taste. I prefer subtler methods. Like destroying my reputation, getting me fired. Effective, isn't it? In a few weeks, you'll be back on the streets. No one will believe anything you say. Just another homeless person with delusions of conspiracy. Sarah stepped out beside me. We have evidence. The FBI knows about you. Victoria smiled. No, they don't. If they did, they'd be here instead of 2 amateur detectives playing hero. She moved to her desk, casual but deliberate. You should leave now, while you still can. I saw her hand moving toward a drawer. Sarah, go. We bolted for the exit. Behind us, Victoria's voice was calm, almost amused. Running won't help. I'll find you. We raced down the stairs, out into the night. My hands shook as I called the FBI agent. This time, I had a name, a location, a confession of sorts. Victoria Chen, document forger. She's working with David's organization. She just threatened us. Where are you now? I gave her our location. She's probably destroying evidence as we speak. We'll send units immediately. Get somewhere safe. Sarah drove us to a 24-hour diner across town. We sat in a back booth, watching the door, jumping every time someone entered. My phone rang. The FBI agent. The office was empty. No Victoria Chen, no evidence. Even the landlord claims that unit's been vacant for months. My heart sank. Victoria was too smart, too prepared. She'd cleared out the moment we left. We'll keep investigating, the agent promised, but without concrete evidence. I hung up, defeated. Victoria had won this round, but she'd also revealed herself, confirmed she was behind everything. That was something. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You have 48 hours to leave town, both of you. Or what happened to Maria happens to you. We showed it to the FBI, but the number was untraceable. They offered us protection, but for how long? Victoria had proven she could reach us anywhere. Ryan called the next morning. His voice was different, strained. I need to see you, both of you. It's important. We met at a public park. Lots of people around. Ryan looked terrible, like he hadn't slept. They came to my apartment last night, he said. 2 men. Said they worked for someone who was very disappointed in me. What did they want? They want me to recant my testimony. Say I lied about David, that you manipulated me. They'll restore my reputation, get me a better job than I had before. You didn't agree? He was quiet for a moment. They gave me 24 hours to decide. Made it clear what would happen if I refused. He showed us a photo on his phone, his elderly mother's house. They know where she lives. The threat was clear. Victoria wasn't just targeting us anymore. She was going after our families, anyone we cared about. We have to stop her, I said. How? Ryan asked. She's like smoke. The moment we get close, she vanishes. But I was thinking about what Victoria had said on the phone. Tomorrow night, the warehouse. One last meeting. It was a long shot, but maybe our only chance. I have an idea, I said, but it's dangerous, and we'll need help. Sarah and Ryan listened as I outlined the plan. It was risky, possibly illegal, definitely dangerous, but we were out of options. Victoria had systematically destroyed our lives. Now it was time to fight back. If we do this, Ryan said slowly, there's no going back. There's already no going back, Sarah pointed out. She won't stop until we're gone. We spent the rest of the day preparing. Ryan used his technical skills to set up recording equipment. Sarah gathered supplies. I coordinated with the FBI agent, trying to convince her to have units standing by without revealing our plan. As night fell, we drove toward the warehouse district, the same building Sarah and I had found before. This time, we were better prepared. This time, we weren't just investigating investigating. We were going to war. The warehouse sat in darkness, but fresh tire tracks suggested recent activity. We parked blocks away, approaching on foot. Ryan had given us each a small camera, wirelessly connected to a laptop in Sarah's car. Remember, I whispered, we need evidence. Real, undeniable evidence. We split up. Ryan covered the back entrance. Sarah stayed with the car, ready to call for help. I went in through the same broken window we'd used before. The warehouse was quiet, but not empty. Boxes were stacked everywhere, ready for shipping. In the office area, papers covered a desk. Shipping manifests, fake IDs, lists of names. Victoria's operation was bigger than David's had ever been. I photographed everything, uploading it directly to cloud storage. Even if they caught me, the evidence would survive. Voices outside, car doors slamming. I ducked behind a stack of boxes as the main door opened. Victoria entered, followed by two men. One I recognized from the photos in David's storage unit. Another victim turned accomplice. Is everything ready for transport? Victoria asked. Loaded and ready. Portland facility is expecting us tomorrow. Portland. They were expanding, setting up new operations in other cities. The cycle would continue. New desperate victims. New lives destroyed. And our problem? Victoria continued. Being handled. The brother agreed to cooperate. The other two will be dealt with tonight. My blood ran cold. They were planning to cull us. Tonight. I needed to warn Sarah and Ryan, but any movement might give me away. I stayed frozen as Victoria moved to the desk, gathering papers. Shame about the girl, she said conversationally. David always said she was too smart for her own good. Should have just disappeared like the others. Want us to make it look like an accident? Like the Santos woman? Victoria considered. Number suicides. Two desperate friends, overwhelmed by their circumstances. Tragic, but believable. They continued discussing our murders like a business transaction. I recorded everything, fighting the urge to run. This was the evidence we needed. Then my phone vibrated. I'd forgotten to turn it completely off. The buzz seemed impossibly loud in the quiet warehouse. Victoria's head snapped up. What was that? The men spread out, searching. I pressed deeper into the shadows, but there weren't many places to hide. Footsteps came closer. Any second, they'd find me. A crash from the back of the warehouse. Ryan's distraction. The men rushed toward the sound, leaving Victoria alone. She pulled out her phone, dialing rapidly. We have intruders. Send everyone. Yes, now. This was falling apart. I needed to get out before their reinforcements arrived. But Victoria stood between me and the exit. Another crash, this time from the side entrance. Sarah, creating another distraction. Victoria cursed, moving toward the sound. The path to the door was clear. I ran. Behind me, Victoria shouted. Footsteps pounded after me. I burst through the door into the night, sprinting toward our rendezvous point. Ryan emerged from the shadows, Sarah's car screeching around the corner. We dove in as the first shots rang out. The rear window exploded in a shower of glass. Drive! I screamed. Sarah floored it, tires smoking. More shots, but we were pulling away. In the mirror, I saw Victoria standing in the warehouse doorway, phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't chasing us. She was making calls. Did you get it? Sarah asked, taking another hard turn. I checked my phone. Everything had uploaded. Videos, photos, audio recordings, Victoria discussing murders, planning to frame us, running David's operation on a massive scale. Got it. All of it. Ryan was already sending everything to the FBI, media outlets, even posting on social media. If they're going to cull us, he said grimly, everyone's going to know why. My phone rang. The FBI agent. Where are you? Units are responding to shots fired at Riverside Warehouse. Victoria Chen is there. She's planning to cull us tonight. We have evidence. Sending it now. Get to the federal building. We'll protect you. But even as Sarah drove toward safety, I knew this wasn't over. Victoria had resources, connections. She'd survived this long by being careful, by always having an escape plan. Sure enough, by the time FBI units reached the warehouse, it was empty. Cleaned out like the office in Chinatown. Victoria Chen had vanished once again. But this time, we had evidence. Real, undeniable proof of the conspiracy. The FBI finally had enough to act. They raided addresses connected to the shipping manifests, arrested dozens of accomplices, saved new victims who'd been trapped in the same scam. Victoria remained at large, but her operation was destroyed, her network exposed. She was now the one being hunted. We spent the next week in protective custody, giving statements, identifying accomplices from photos. The full scope of the operation was staggering. 15 cities, hundreds of victims over 7 years, millions in stolen goods. She took over when David went to prison the first time, the agent explained. Refined his methods, made it more sophisticated. We've been chasing shadows for years, but something bothered me. In all the evidence we'd gathered, one thing was missing. Any mention of where Victoria had learned her skills. Document forging at that level wasn't something you picked up overnight. Ryan found the connection. Look at this, he said, showing me an old news article. 10 years ago, a massive identity theft ring was busted in Seattle. The ringleader was never caught, but they had a nickname for them, the Ghost. You think Victoria was the Ghost? The timeline fits. The methods are similar, but evolved. And look at this witness description. Young Asian woman, early 20s, extremely intelligent. If Ryan was right, Victoria had been doing this for over a decade. David wasn't her first partner, just the most recent. How many lives had she destroyed? How many Maria Santos were there that we didn't know about? The FBI agent was interested but cautious. It's a theory. Without Victoria in custody, we can't prove anything, but I couldn't let it go. Victoria was still out there, probably already setting up a new operation. She'd threatened us, tried to cull us. This wouldn't end until she was caught. Sarah found the lead. Remember what Victoria said on the phone? Someone David had promised something to? What if she has other partners, people waiting for her to restart the operation? We gave the FBI everything we had, but I could tell they were focused on prosecuting the accomplices they'd caught. Victoria was a ghost again, and ghosts were hard to catch. 2 weeks passed. Ryan got his job back after the FBI cleared his name. The nonprofit hired me back with apologies. Even my bank unfroze my accounts. Life was returning to normal, but I kept looking over my shoulder, kept expecting Victoria to reappear. She'd promised to cull us, and people like her didn't forget. Then the package arrived. The package sat on my doorstep. No return address, just my name written in neat block letters. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Sarah watched from behind me, ready to call 911 if needed. Inside was a single photograph. Me, taken yesterday at the grocery store. On the back, coordinates and a time, tomorrow, 10 p.m. Come alone or Ryan's mother has an accident. Sarah grabbed the photo. This is insane. We need to call the FBI right now. But I was already pulling up the coordinates on my phone. An abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. Of course, Victoria would choose somewhere isolated. She wants to finish this, I said quietly. Then let the FBI finish it. You can't seriously be thinking about going. I thought about about Ryan's mother, a sweet woman who'd already lost one son to David's crimes. Victoria had proven she'd follow through on threats. Maria Santos was proof of that. Ryan answered on the first ring when I called. My mom's visiting my aunt in Phoenix, he said. Left this morning. Did you tell anyone she was leaving? A pause. Just posted it on Facebook. Why? My stomach sank. Victoria had been watching our social media, tracking our movements. She knew exactly where to find everyone we cared about. Get your mom somewhere safe. Don't post about it. Don't tell anyone where. What's happening? I explained about the package. Ryan went quiet. Then, I'm coming with you. Number she said alone. She's going to call you either way, at least with backup. She'll call your mother. I can't risk that. Sarah snatched the phone. Nobody's going anywhere. We're calling the FBI and letting them handle this. But I knew Victoria better now. She'd have contingencies, escape routes. The moment she spotted law enforcement, she'd vanish again, and Ryan's mother would pay the price. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah stayed over, determined to stop me from doing something stupid. But I'd already made up my mind. This had to end. The next evening, I waited until Sarah dozed off on the couch. I slipped out quietly, leaving a note explaining everything. If something happened to me, at least there'd be evidence. The factory loomed dark against the sky. I parked outside the fence, noting 3 other vehicles already there. Victoria hadn't come alone either. I entered through a gap in the fence, following the dim light coming from the main building. My phone was recording, uploading everything to the cloud in real time. Whatever happened, there'd be proof. Victoria stood in the center of the empty factory floor, perfectly composed in her designer suit. 2 men flanked her, the same ones from the warehouse. Punctual, she said. I appreciate that. Let's get this over with. She smiled. So eager to die? Most people try to negotiate. Would it matter? Number. She gestured to one of the men, who pulled out a laptop. But first, you're going to fix the mess you've made. Transfer all the evidence you collected. Delete your copies. Post a confession that you fabricated everything. And then you call me anyway. Oh no, then you disappear, like the others. Your friend Sarah will get a sewer slide note. The FBI will close your case. Life goes on. Except for me. Victoria shrugged. You chose this path when you went to the FBI. I offered you 48 hours to leave town. You should have taken it. Movement in my peripheral vision. More men entering through side doors. 5 total now. Even if I'd brought backup, we'd be outnumbered. The FBI knows I'm here. I lied. No, they don't. You came alone, just like I asked. Because you actually care about that pathetic woman in Phoenix. Victoria checked her watch. Who should be receiving visitors right about now? My blood ran cold. I pulled out my phone to call Ryan, warn him, but there was no signal. They were using a jammer. Sit, Victoria commanded, pointing to a chair they'd set up near the laptop. Start typing. I had no choice. I sat down, opened the laptop, but as I did, I noticed something. A small red light on the underside of the desk. A camera. They were recording this too. Why would they need video of me confessing if they plan to call me anyway? Unless, you're not going to call me, I said slowly. You're going to use this recording to blackmail me. Make me work for you, like the others. Victoria's smile widened. David always said you were too smart. Yes, death is wasteful. You've proven resourceful. With the right motivation, you could be useful. You want me to run your scams. Eventually. First, you'll help us rebuild. Your testimony destroyed years of work. You'll help create new identities, new roots, new victims. I'll never, you will. Because if you don't, the people you care about suffer. Starting with Ryan's mother, then Sarah, then that nice family who runs the nonprofit. Should I continue? This was how she trapped the others. Not through desperation, but through threats. Turn them into accomplices to protect loved ones. The FBI will notice if I disappear. You're taking a vacation. Stress from recent events. You'll even send them emails. Stay in touch. Technology is wonderful that way. One of the men handed her a folder. Inside, documents with my forged signature. Apartment lease termination, job resignation letter, even a therapy referral for PTSD. We've thought of everything, Victoria said. Now start typing. I turned to the laptop, mind racing. There had to be a way out. That's when I noticed the factory windows. Movement outside. Shadows that shouldn't be there. Victoria noticed my glance. Her eyes narrowed. Check the perimeter, she ordered one of the men. He headed for the door. Made it 3 steps before it burst open. FBI, nobody move. Agents flooded in from every entrance. Victoria spun toward me, realization dawning. I dove sideways as she pulled a gun from her jacket. The shot went wide. Agents returned fire. Victoria ducked behind a concrete pillar, her men scattering for cover. Drop your weapons, an agent shouted. One of Victoria's men made a break for the exit. Agents tackled him. Another tried to destroy the laptop. I grabbed it, holding tight as we struggled. Victoria was already moving, heading for a back exit, but Ryan stepped out from behind a stack of crates, blocking her path. He held a tire iron, hands shaking, but determined. Going somewhere? She raised her gun. Ryan swung. The tire iron connected with her wrist, sending the weapon flying. Victoria cried out, clutching her arm. Agents swarmed her. Victoria Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy, attempted murder, racketeering. She looked at me as they cuffed her, understanding flooding her face. You were never alone. No, I admitted. The FBI has been listening since I left my apartment. Every word transmitted directly to them. Sarah appeared in the doorway, phone in hand. Nice note, by the way. Really had me convinced. She glared at me. Until I checked your laptop and saw the FBI conference call you'd left running. The agent in charge approached me. That was incredibly dangerous. We almost didn't get here in time. But you did. Only because your friend called us the moment you left. She figured out what you were planning. I looked at Sarah, who was trying to maintain her angry expression but failing. You know me too well. Damn right I do. And next time you decide to play hero, maybe include the rest of us in the plan? Ryan joined us, still holding the tire iron. Is my mom really safe? She's fine, the agent assured him. We've had protection on all potential targets since yesterday. They'd been prepared. Of course they had. The FBI might move slowly sometimes, but they weren't stupid. Victoria's men were all in custody. Agents were already processing the scene, collecting evidence. The laptop contained everything. Financial records, victim lists, contact information for her entire network. This is bigger than we thought, the agent told us. She wasn't just continuing David's operation. She was running similar scams in 12 states. We're looking at hundreds of victims. Over the next few hours, we gave our statements. Victoria had confessed to everything on tape, thinking she was recruiting me. Instead, she'd handed us the evidence to destroy her entire organization. Will it stick? I asked the prosecutor who arrived to review the case. With what we have, she'll never see daylight again. Multiple attempted murders, racketeering, identity theft, money laundering, and that's just the federal charges. But something still bothered me. In the factory, Victoria had seemed so confident, so prepared. How had she not suspected a trap? Ryan had the answer. Arrogance. She'd operated for over a decade without getting caught. hot. She thought she was untouchable. Plus, Sarah added, she was desperate. We'd destroyed her operation. She needed to rebuild fast, and that made her sloppy. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings. Victoria tried to make a deal, offering information about other criminal organizations in exchange for reduced sentences. The FBI wasn't interested. During her trial, the full scope of her crimes emerged. The ghost identity was confirmed. She'd been running scams since college. 15 years of destroyed lives. Maria Santos was just one of many suspicious deaths connected to her operations. She got life without parole. As they led her away, she looked at me one last time. No hatred, just cold calculation. Even defeated, she was planning, thinking, scheming, but she was done. Her network dismantled, assets seized, accomplices arrested or fleeing. The victim's restitution fund grew with every recovered dollar. Ryan used his experience to help the FBI understand the technical aspects of the operation. They offered him a consultant position, helping prevent similar scams. He accepted immediately. I want to make up for what I helped create, he told me, even unknowingly. Sarah and I went back to the nonprofit, but with a new mission. We created a program specifically for people vulnerable to housing scams, education, resources, legitimate alternatives to predatory situations. One afternoon, a young man came in, recently aged out of foster care, sleeping in his car, desperate for stability. He showed me a Craigslist ad that looked too good to be true. What do you think? He asked hopefully. I recognized the pattern immediately. Cheap rent, cash only, package receiving duties. Someone was already trying to fill the void Victoria left. Let me show you some real options, I said, pulling up our verified housing list. And let me tell you a story about why you should always trust your instincts. He listened, eyes widening as I explained the scam. By the end, he was shaking his head. I almost fell for it. Almost doesn't count. You asked for help. That's what matters. After he left with legitimate housing applications, Sarah found me staring at the Craigslist ad he'd shown me. You're not thinking of investigating, are you? Already forwarded it to my FBI contact, I assured her. Let them handle it. I'd learned my lesson about playing hero, but I'd also learned that surviving wasn't enough. People like David and Victoria existed because desperate people made easy targets. The only way to stop them was to remove the desperation. 6 months after Victoria's arrest, I received a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. David Park, writing from federal prison. You think you've won, it read. But there are hundreds like us. Thousands. You saved a few people. We'll find millions more. I showed it to the FBI. They added it to his file. Evidence of continued criminal mindset. It would ensure he never made parole, but his words stuck with me. He was right about one thing. Predators would always exist. As long as there were vulnerable people, someone would exploit them. That's why our work mattered. Every person we helped find legitimate housing was one less potential victim. Every scam we exposed saved dozens from falling into the trap. A year later, I was speaking at a conference about predatory housing practices. In the audience, I spotted a familiar face, the woman who'd knocked on my door that first week, whose son had been scammed. She approached me afterward. My son's doing better, she said. Completed his parole, has a real job now. I wanted to thank you. If you hadn't gone to the FBI, I'm just glad he's okay. He volunteers now, helping other ex-convicts avoid scams. Says he wants to prevent what almost happened to him. Another life salvaged. Another person turning their experience into purpose. Ryan called that night. Just wanted to let you know we shut down another operation today. Seattle. Same model as Victoria's, but smaller. Got them before they could hurt anyone. That's amazing. It's because of what we learned from your case. The patterns, the methods. We know what to look for now. The ripple effects continued. Other cities started similar programs. Laws were strengthened. Awareness grew. It wasn't perfect. People still fell victim to scams, but fewer than before. Sarah and I remained roommates for a while. Neither of us quite ready to live alone after everything, but eventually, we both found our own places. Real apartments with real leases and legitimate landlords. No mysterious package duties, Sarah joked when I signed my lease. Shockingly, no. Just boring normal mail. Normal felt good. Boring felt safe. I still check Craigslist sometimes, flagging suspicious ads. Still jump when unexpected packages arrive. Some scars don't fade, but I'm not running anymore. Not hiding. David was wrong about winning. This wasn't about victory. It was about survival, recovery, and preventing others from suffering the same fate. Every person we helped, every scam we stopped, every predator we exposed, that was the real win. My phone buzzed. Another young person seeking housing help. Another potential victim saved. Another chance to make a difference. I smiled and got back to work.